The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. We're actually both together today for a brief time, and we will definitely catch up on all the things that have happened this last weekend. But as usual, I am Barnzy, joined by the inimitable Stuart Williams. How are you, Stu?
Good. We're almost matching. We are also live on Instagram today for the first time ever. So hello to the Instagram people. I don't know whether Instagram's going to come across. So somebody send a message in Instagram and see if it actually comes across into our chat over here. But I've got a chat window open for Instagram. So
All right.
set in history, trying something new. It was a bit of a pain in the ass, but we got it started. So I don't know whether anybody's going to give a shit about watching on Instagram or not, but to all the YouTube people, welcome. To all the Facebook people, hello again. Hello again, even.
There you go.
So, yes. Yeah, it doesn't look like the comments come through the main chat, so I've got to have a chat window open for Instagram. So,
Okay.
Thanks for that, Zuck. So how is how is everything going for you?
It's all right. We went to Louisiana last weekend, bowled the Vicky Rios Trios, which I'd heard about for a long time, but had never bowled. Got a chance to bowl with Linda and Ryan. We bowled good for a while, and then we got ran over for a while. But pretty good, all in all. And it's fun. You get a chance to do some things you don't normally get to do. Despite that, there was a pretty good event right here in town that you came up and bowled here while I went there, which was
it's the Saturday only bowling club. It's kind of somewhat senior focused, senior bowlers focused. So teams had to add up to 110 years old. So when I saw Dio walking in with Rick in the morning, I said, "Holy shit, are you going to bowl with a corpse?" Because Theo would have needed somebody who was 89 or older. So he could have bowled with his grandpa, but his grandpa averages about 142. So, and according to Rick, that's on a good day. So that wouldn't have been too much use for him. But yeah, I kind of had a similar deal to you, except I finished the job off. I bowled 300, game one. And then I had a back, 7 for 250 even, whatever it is, the old spare strike, whatever, for 250 even. And then I didn't bowl very well after that. So I believe I think that Rick Bernard actually ended up winning. Or was it Fleming? I can't remember, but anyway, it was a nice event. Had a couple of little hiccups, but Ildemaro tried to take care of everything. He did a pretty good job for not having really run many tournaments before. Like I say, it was a fun event. Plano is always okay. It's always a good host. I got my ass kicked by Butch Warren, the owner. It was quite funny because he tripped the 4-pin probably about 5 times. And I said, "Holy shit, you could make a little bit more effort to make it look so obvious you've got a guy in the back throwing pins in." And he starts laughing, whatever. And then the very next frame, I tripped the 4-9. He goes, "Well, someone's getting fucking fired." And then I said to him, no, I just hit almost all of the head pin they assumed you were bowling. But I got to bowl with Joe Vito, and I love bowling with Joe because Joe is his attitude has not changed at all in his 67th year on this planet. He is still just as feisty, just as bitter, just as frustrated by fucking lefties and bullshit hits and everything else. So it's every now and again, like you'll see a guy get a lucky break or whatever, and you just think it in your head. Joe has no problem voicing that out loud. So, it's a fun time for me. I feel like I'm bowling with a someone with the same attitude as I am, just older. So yeah, it's good fun.
Casey 308.22 with the Zen 25 out of the box. Yeah, that's I shot 299 again with the Zen 25. I drilled another one last night, a little stronger. Used it for a little while last night. Well, I used it all night, but
about to say, if we're having front 11 counts, is that you up to about 4 now with that ball?
Yeah, I have 2 300s, a 298, a 299.
Yeah, so
and
pretty good
a couple
effort.
800s in there. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that good anymore, so that's like the toe factor now. If that guy can strike with it.
Yeah. So, Glenn, morning. Thank you. He says, morning. Oh, actually, should we just bring Brad in?
I think we probably should. I said, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the stage.
Welcome to the stage. A wildly popular internet creator and co-founder of the Brad and Kyle show, right? It's not the Kyle and Brad show. The Brad and Kyle show. And the newest winner and most experienced player in the last 2 weeks of throwing it straight at the head pin every shot, Brad Miller.
What's up, gentlemen?
No one has bowled on more 55 feet of oil than you have in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've thrown 2 shots a frame a lot for the past 2 weekends. I mean, it's just you almost expect not to strike. You just know that, all right, we're gonna have to pick up the spare ball. Spare ball is all slimy and grimy. Haven't touched it. It's been so much play, but yeah, lots of spare shooting.
Did you? I guess it probably didn't get quite as bad as the Bradley. You weren't. It didn't get as bad as Snowman at the Bradley. You weren't actually lining up Brooklyn like we were a couple of times.
No, and I got to give it to you and CT for asking me to bowl the Snowman, because I told you in a text, but like if I didn't bowl the Snowman, there's no way that the Bradley ends up the way that it is, because I even struggled. I had a miracle 250 the last game. I mean, total miracle. I couldn't do that in 100 tries probably. But the only reason I was even able to do it was because of, 15 to 20 games, whatever it was, of just craziness at the Snowman. I mean, the Bradley is crazy, sure, but I've never seen anything like what we bowled on at the Snowman last week. I mean, Stu, you were the first one. You were the first one I saw line up Brooklyn midway Saturday, and you threw your first 5 strikes on the left lane, Brooklyn. And I was like, wow, okay. And then we come into Sunday, and then literally everybody was just lining up Brooklyn. I mean, it was the strike on the 1-3 side of the head pin was just unheard of. But then the Bradley, they're the same idea, same thing. They're just a little bit more playable.
Yeah, I always feel like the Bradley is like, if you can get your ball to slow down, it's like normal bowling almost. It's just, if you can't get it to slow down, it's an absolute train wreck. So if you can find that spot where you can get your ball to just pick up a little bit, it's kind of a bit more normal. Like you are hitting your ball with a roof tile or whatever to make it slow down.
Right.
But once you get the feel, like I remember a couple of years ago, me and Dom bowled, and we both bowled 1400 for 6 in the finals, because there was a bunch of lefties who made it, and the righties in general kind of played in the right spot. And then they were okay. With the way he's done the Snowman the last 2 years, there is no chance that you could bowl 3-2-15 games in a row. Like, there is no chance.
And what exactly does he do? He used to handle them the whole way, right?
Yeah. So what he's doing now, I believe, is he runs red square, which is a fairly tough pattern. And then he basically sprays over the top, except he doesn't really spray the fronts very much. So in the past, he handled the whole lane, and Chris has done that back in the day, and he's pretty good at spraying them down the middle. And generally, like when you hand oil them, you kind of just oil the middle 15 or 20 boards, and then you just drag them a little bit. So there's a lot of oil, but there isn't a lot of oil on the edges, was kind of how it was the first few years we bowled it. And I think he just got pissed off at like the pros being able to hook it and his local guys not being able to hook it at all. So he ended up doing a different deal. And after he's done that, it's very much control the head pin, not control the pocket.
Yeah, well, the difference a little bit at the Snowman, is that me dinging or is that you guys dinging?
It's probably us. Don't
Right.
worry about it. It's fine.
So to kind of visualize the difference, Snowman is just match play right out the gate. You don't really have to. You just got to beat your team. So you could average 150 and move on, which was happening. I mean, people were winning games with 300, 320. People were shooting like 250 between the two of them. The scoring pace was crazy, but the oil pattern hooked a lot more in the fronts. So if you smash it with screen or something, it was a lot easier for it to lock up Brooklyn than it was to somehow fit it in the 1-3. Because if you hit it at all with your fingers, if you got it rolling, it just wanted to immediately kind of lock up Brooklyn, the left side. Being able to fit the ball in the actual pocket and then have it like go through the pins and not 5-8, which we can talk about that match we bowled. But like it was very hard to get the 5-pin out. I mean, your ball was rolled out no matter which angle you used. So there were a lot of 5-8s, 5-8-10s, 8-10s. And so then that's why everyone lined up Brooklyn. The Bradley, there were moments in pairs where it was like that. But for the most part, there was just a little bit of playability, a little bit more skid in the front part of the lane, which allowed you to smash your balls with surface. I was using 220. And then the surface, instead of it locking up Brooklyn, it kind of just was able to, you could still hit the 1-3. And when you did, there was a chance that it struck. You were still going to leave some weird stuff, but a lot better chance of striking than at the Snowman. And even, I mean, Kyle Troop was the best player at the Bradley by far. I mean, he had second place by probably a couple hundred by the time we got done with qualifying. So he played the middle part of the lane. He kind of didn't play him normal, but he, just trapped it over his left toe, and he was able to consistently hit the 1-3. Then when I got to him, we bowled on a pair that was mega tight. So it made him feel very uncomfortable. So I actually got lucky there. But the match against Troop was great. Overall, it was great practice for the tour. Outside of, I got to relearn some angles again. it's like, oh man, if it's a hook contest, I haven't done that in a while.
But if it's lower scoring on that bat pattern, which it probably won't be, but if it is, you are set to go. Did you? I think that the thing that I notice the most when I bowl those tournaments is how much more simple the game is when you almost just think like Walter Ray. Like you don't get confused by, oh, I should do this with my hand, or I need to do this, or I need to roll it, or I need to just hit the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's almost freeing to feel that way, because it's like you realize quite how much easier or more predictable the spares that you leave are. I mean, even if you just hit the head pin. Like, I know that you in the Snowman, that was actually one of the things that you struggled with the most, because you were almost trying to bowl to the right, whereas most of the other people were bowling way to the left. Is the second you got one a little right, you ended up leaving the head pin. And like, there are only so many times you can spare the 1-2-4 before it starts to really like that isn't the one you want to be shooting a lot of the time, is it? I mean,
it's kind of a funny story because the fifth game, we bowled 6 games in the morning. And I think I came in, I was plus 11. I think I came in like 5th. And then after 5 games, I might have been like 40th. I don't know how far I was down there, but I was, I was 90 under for 5. And I was bowling with Troop and Who else? Bowling with someone else, and they were both 80 over, 90 over. And so, I mean, and they're playing the middle part of the lane. They're hooking it. But I kind of got randomly lucky. It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of hard when you bowl those tournaments when you like it happens on the PBA as well. Like you can be like 100 over and you think, man, I feel like I'm bowling quite well. And the two guys on your pair are like 220 over, and you're just like, what the fuck? And then that's the only time when I totally think that you should look at the scoreboard, because I've bowled a couple of tournaments where I've bowled with two guys who it wasn't like I was bowling with EJ, and I'm like, am I bowling bad? And then I look at the score and I'm like in seventh at 100 over, and they're like 1 and 2. And it's just like, no, I'm actually fine. And me trying to do something different just because they're doing well is probably what's going to screw this up. And the same thing, like what you're saying there at the Bradley, you're bowling with two guys who are crushing it, and you're just like, oh shit, I've got to do something different. But then you actually look and you're in like I say, fifth, but you're third on your pair.
Right.
Like suddenly you're just like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
He wants to know what ball you threw the last game.
that was an Origin. It was the last ball I had left with service on it. I was willing to throw. I 5-8-10 twice this weekend.
I 5-8-10 twice in the same game and shot 200 at this fucking snowman.
Yes, you did.
At the Snowman, the last time I bowled was a couple of years ago with Doherty, and we just it got to the point where the 5-8-10 wasn't even like that's a bad break. You're like, yeah, you're just gonna leave it one or two of those.
Oh yeah. It was like my dad says, it was the price of doing business.
Right.
Yeah, you go up and leave a 5-8, and your partner goes, "All right, great shot."
Yeah, and nothing you do. Hey, try and make it.
So 3Gs is a frequent contributor. He says, what are your thoughts on the new balls at the minute? Are you got any that you particularly like?
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, I like a lot of stuff right now, actually. Even down to, an Optimum Idol. I like an Optimum Idol Pearl. I like this new Origin. I think the Physics Blackout's really great. I love the Ions. The Ion Pro with a little less diff and asymmetric. You never quite know which ones are going to match up on tour and which ones you're going to throw, but Storm has given us a plethora of different types of bowling balls. Like that Ion Pro, we haven't had a ball like that. An asymmetric, low flaring ball, and Road Warrior.
What about the Ion Pro Max?
The Ion Pro Max.
Barnzy's favorite, Ion Pro Max. He renamed it. He liked it so much.
It's
just the Ion Max.
Yeah.
But when it came out, Chris kept calling it the Ion Pro Max in his video. And it's really funny because all of the sales guys fucking hate Chris now because he kept saying Ion Pro Max. So like Trevino goes into pro shops and they're like, hey, where's this Ion Pro Max going to fit? And he's like, there's no such ball as the Ion Pro Max.
Well,
there is the new one.
Don't they use the word pro when they're in the last couple balls? They've used the word pro. Doesn't that mean like a lower flaring?
Yeah,
Is that what
almost forever.
Yeah,
you were a pro. Yeah.
It means lower diff, higher price.
Yes. What did Ryan throw out at tour trials? A lot.
You mean the team trials?
Or team trials?
Yeah. Not nearly as much urethane as everybody else, but he threw that some. And that got me back. He threw the Origin a bunch. He got a lot of pins with that thing.
So he loves the Origin. Kyle loves the Origin too.
Yeah.
I mean, just loves it.
Yeah, he's drilled one a little stronger, and it's been.
I do think, from what I've seen, for me anyway, and then I drilled one for my wife. I think that lower pins on the Origin actually might be a pretty good play because it transitions pretty quickly. When I drilled Tina's, she said she didn't really like it, and I watched her throw 3 shots with it last night, and I was like, "Oop, shouldn't have drilled it that way." I got the pin too high, so with her ball speed and stuff, it kind of stands up too hard, and then kind of gets really forward. So I can't imagine how much oil she would need on the lane for her to be able to use that ball drilled the way I did it. It's always a shame when I get hers messed up, because when I get mine messed up, I kind of just go, that's probably going to be the niche one. I put it in the corner and then I drill another one. It's not really the same for doing balls for her. So, so just quickly spinning back on the new releases. Where do you see, like, have you had much chance to play around with the level?
I've practiced with it. I haven't really thrown it in competition, but I've probably practiced 30 games with it, maybe 25, 30
Okay.
games. Maybe not that many, but yeah, I've thrown it.
Because like for me anyway, I've watched a bunch of the videos, like, because I'm very much like, I try to I bowl with the ball. I kind of see how it works for me. And if it doesn't necessarily do exactly what I expected it to do, I'll have a chat with Chris about what he sees out of it. And then I'll, kind of watch a few of the other videos. Having chatted a little bit with a few of the guys who were at the team trials as well. And like, to me, I think that I'm beginning to like place it almost in the same spot as I'd place like a 2-inch pinball. Like, whereas, like, when you bowl on those kind of shorter, shorter patterns, it gives me a few different options because it's a little cleaner than urethane, is how I see it anyway. So now I feel like if I want to throw it a little harder, I can be a little bit closer to the friction than I can with the urethane ball. Because I think, for me anyway, the urethane ball, like on one of the short pads, like cheater or whatever, stands up really hard if I want to go way up the outside. But this one gets through it enough that I could change my hand and use it. But because it shapes more down the lane, I feel like I can also cheat a little further left and have a bit more angle, kind of like I would if I was using a 2-inch pinball. So I see it a little bit more like that, rather than like a urethane ball. But yeah, it's, I don't know exactly how I'm going to use it yet, but I feel like it's going to be something that it's going to give me a few more shape options early, is sort of how I see it off urethane. Whereas for me, urethane kind of, especially when we have to use the harder ones, kind of locks me into kind of one area. I'm probably not going to be able to get left of like probably 12. And then if no matter what, I'm probably only going to be able to shape it like, 2 or 3 boards away from where it is at the arrows. Whereas with the level, I feel like I've got a bit more options. So I don't know how you guys have been feeling about it, but I don't see it as a urethane replacement. I just see it as like an additional option more than like a replacement.
What about you, Chris? You
Yeah,
throwing?
it's another shape for sure. It's somewhere between EPX and urethane. You can use some tools. You can, I don't have to grab at it as hard to get it to tip down lane. That's for sure. Now, how that looks like when oil carries down will be that'll be the deal. And we're actually going to go practice on that first pattern, that heavy volume short, today with some other guys, Ryan Chapman and some guys, and get enough, try and move it around and see, is it useful?
Are you going to do that at Louisville?
Yeah, Louisville.
Okay, because I was about to say that's part of the reason why I don't want to lay that pattern down, because I don't have a surface that's as old as the one in Delaware. So it's almost totally pointless to bowl on that if you bowl on a decent surface, because all that's going to happen is your ball's going to go through the back of the building.
Yeah, it's SPL, which is enough friction to probably approximate older HPL.
100%. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see how that looks.
Can't
like
imagine
I said,
that.
I may drill them like, because it does give you more of that urethane shape. We'll just have to see if maybe I drill it pin down when I have pretty strong and it picks up in the right part of the lane for me. But
yeah,
Ryan drilled one that was stronger at Team USA trials. He did throw it some there too, and it was all right. So on the kind of medium-ish, that 39-foot, that where the urethane balls really separate out between the good, the bad, and the ugly, and was able to use it for a game and a half.
Yeah,
Is
that's what I
Charles
thought. Use the level in a tournament.
35. I think you guys will be surprised how good it's going to be in transition and burn. See, that's the thing. Like, it's not.
That's a
Like,
ton of free friction, is what that is. So
I don't want to be a dick about it, but the problem is for us, when we get to the burn, like there's so much oil down the lane because of how much rev rate there is. It's like everybody wonders why the pros don't use hustles very much. It's just because we have so much oil down the lane. That's why
and
we
there's
end up having to throw it in the air because we need a stronger ball to be able to dig in through that oil.
there's so much less free friction to the right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's 44 feet, but the free friction at 8 starts at about 16 feet. So
Yeah, we've seen some guys really start to try and hook urethane, the past like 5 years. Not necessarily hook it, but instead of just immediately getting out of urethane when they're playing up the lane, they start trying to play the middle part of the lane, not necessarily with open angles, but they like that smooth shape, depending on the pattern, obviously. So I'll be curious to see, do guys want to get out of urethane, and especially the really high rev guys, do they want to get out of urethane and go to reactive, or do they want to get out of urethane and go to something like this that's just a step different than urethane, a little cleaner and a little more motion down lane, but you're not going to get the reaction like reactive, like that just overwhelming amount of hook.
no, and I think that's a good thing. It's not like those like Zenus and some of the 70-30s that really hooked a lot until they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The pattern, Kristen, for Delaware, it's Cheetah, but it's 37 mils. It's the most volume we've used on tour.
Oh, they're using Cheetah for the Delaware?
Not for the PTQ, for the main field event. So for PTQ, they're using BAT.
Okay.
I believe. I saw somebody post about it. I'm pretty sure they're using the BAT pattern for the PTQ because that's kind of what they've been doing. They've been trying to use something in the same ballpark. But yeah. The other thing. Sorry, I was about to say the other thing at the team trials is you were also back into Disneyland, Fairyland, whatever, with everybody using the soft urethanes. So it's a totally different world when people are using the 78s only.
Yeah.
You kind of forget how insane it looks when you go 6 months, because that's what I had to adjust to when I came back from the tour. We go 6 months and you're watching the people who can hook it are either left-handed or crawl. Like that's about it. It's like, Packy's like kind of shaping it, and Russo, his ball's on the lane for 8 seconds, so he's hooking it as well. And then you've got like Bugger Crawl, but like in general, Graham Farr's another one who makes it hook absolutely miles.
Yeah.
But in general, people can't really shape it. And then you just go to a tournament and there's this kid whose rev rate's like basically mine, and he stood like 8 left of me, and I'm using a reality, and he's like wheeling this purple hammer or a pitch black or something. You're just like, oh yeah, that's what it used to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
and that's a lot of what moved the scores around. It's just guys in them way too long, playing way too far left, way longer than they should be, because it covers up mistakes.
Gets you to the pocket. I mean, the thing is urethane gets you to the pocket. So the reason why they work so well and why people are so obsessed by using them is because it's easier to hit the pocket, and guys who have massive rev rates only need to hit the pocket to strike. They don't really need to get the right shape to strike. So they can't hit the pocket with a reactive ball, and they don't need to create any angle to get a strike because of their power. Ergo, they're just going to shoot, use those. Lynn, thank you. The question is, any tips on reducing axis tilt? We'll kind of focus on rotation here because a lot of people get rotation and tilt kind of interchangeable.
And it's really difficult to change tilt without changing your rotation. So
yes. Like for me, I try to and maybe I'm a little different. Like I think that in general, axis rotation a lot of the time comes from poor technique, like having too much. So if you've got too much rotation and maybe also tilt, it can be because you're getting like really forward and your elbow's getting outside of your wrist. And then you're creating a lot of unwanted rotation and tilt. I know we sound like a broken record, but like trying to stand a little taller at the foul line, get that right shoulder back if you're right-handed, like really wait for your hand to come through before getting too far forward. I think that they're the things that myself and Chris for sure, focus on. In general, if I'm trying to really be up the back of it, I really try to focus on my ring finger is kind of my trigger. Like when I want to rotate it more, I really feel about bringing that underneath the bottom of the ball. And like when I'm really trying to keep it straight, like shooting a spare, for example, I really try to throw the ring finger dead at the target. And that's kind of how it helps me. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right answer for everybody, but that's kind of how I look at it. I know you're pretty much a field player, Brad. What do you kind of focus in on when you're really trying to stay more up the back of it?
Yeah, that one with the shoulder. I have a problem anyway with getting my shoulder this way. That's why sometimes when we're bowling on short and you got to stand left and throw it dead right. I always have this thing where I miss down lane and I just get around it because my shoulder comes forward and then I can't project the ball with open angles very well because my shoulder jams me.
Being one-handed and not having the 500 RPMs.
So I keep my shoulder back.
Yeah.
I can actually kind of release the ball in the direction that I want it to go. That's a big thing for me, actually, the shoulder.
Yeah. If your shoulder is your power source, it's going to be very hard to use it as an accuracy source.
Oh man,
there's only a few guys that can really pull it off. I mean, Pete did for a long time. EJ does it pretty good now. Most guys don't get away with a big rotational move but still get it online a lot.
But I mean, even EJ, I actually find EJ and Sherman to be quite similar in a lot of ways because they're so much more side on. So although he rotates, he starts from a point that's like just totally unnatural for any one-hander. Like
it starts from a further place back and still stops before it gets to
exactly. So he might have more movement than I do, but he starts 100%. Way further back is kind of how I look at, because I actually look at Sherman and EJ as being actually quite similar in a lot of ways. And they almost bowl like two-handers, even though they're one-handed, because they're so side on. And they both create a lot of rotation, like in their body, but create a lot of power by doing it. And they both throw it awesome. I mean, if Kyle could stop hurting himself, it'd be great. Like for him, like he just keeps getting injuries.
Yeah, and I've looked at that a lot, just traveling with the guy and working with him and Daniel Puerto and stuff. Like if you look at Kyle at the foul line, I mean his left arm is like so in front of him.
Yeah.
The ball at the top. And then when he comes through, there's so much like torque in there.
It's much like a golf swing.
Yeah.
And if his hips are still facing his target, there is a tremendous amount of torque on that hip, which may be part of the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you look at me and my position at the foul line, and my balance arm is a little more to the side. Hips are a little bit more square. And, I have a harder time generating a faster spin sometimes because I just don't have that torque. So I actually work on that. It's hard to get in the same spot. Kyle's really accurate with doing it. Even this weekend, he bowled good, on some that he hates. He's still able to get the ball in the same general vicinity every time with the power.
He's I just feel like it's a blessing and a curse traveling around with someone who throws it really good. Because I travel around with Dom. And I'm a little older than you. So I got to the point of, it's kind of pointless worrying about it. Like you kind of throw it how you throw it. And spending the whole time like trying to change everything is kind of what Bill O'Neill did. and it was a fucking disaster for him. And then he just remembered that, like, no, I'm really good. I'll be fine.
Right.
And then he was. And like Dom is a maniac, like just straight maniac. And the thing that's funny is Bill tried to change everything to gain like 2%, which at his level would have been great. But he ended up losing like 10% doing it. Like and it's funny because he always goes, Dom just needs to realize that he doesn't need to bowl like everybody else. What, like you? Like Bill and Dom are like quite similar in that way, even though Bill isn't quite as crazy. Like Dom will change weights, he'll like change his fit, like he'll win a tournament and he'll be like, nah, I just didn't feel like I was catching it right. And then he'll just have a pitch change. And like most of the time it works out fairly well for him. I mean,
not always.
No,
not always. Not when he does it right before he bowls with me. 3 weeks before, title match, loses. Next week, title match, loses. 2 weeks later, I got to change my entire fit. I'm going to move it a quarter of an inch. I'm going to go from forward to reverse to. How'd that work out? Well, exactly like it should work out when you were bowling that good.
Is that when he started struggling?
No,
he used it for about 1 weekend in an over under doubles that he bowled with me. He didn't shoot his weight, but about 4 times out of the 8 games, and then went back. Wolf with the genius suggestion to change everything halfway through the season.
Yeah, Dom, I don't know if you guys remember last year in Wichita, but Dom was leading for a while. And I was dying a slow death, and I'm bowling next to Belmo, and he comes up to me. He goes, mate, why don't you just do what Dom's doing? And I went over and looked at what Dom was doing, and I'm like, bro, I don't know if I can. That's like his 97th release that he's throwing it 12 mile an hour, trapping it with some ball I've never even seen before. And
yeah,
what you've got to understand with Belmo is Belmo groups almost every single one-hander in the same group outside of EJ. So it's like it makes no difference, like, to him, like, whatever. Like, it's like me going up to him and Simo's throwing like, the backup ball from 30, lofting it. And I go, Simo's bowling pretty good, mate. You gonna try that? he doesn't factor in at all. It's just like, it's so simple. So here's my buddy Nick. He spent $10 to be a troll.
It seems like there's a little context here. I'm really interested to see what that is. Stu, with being on tour for years now, certainly you must have the high average on your leagues, right? What is your league average?
Well, Nick isn't the one who's ahead of me, shall we say.
Okay.
So we bowl Monday nights, and we have one guy who comes in and out. I think he bowls once a month, and he's actually ahead of me at the minute. So it might not be after last night, but whatever. So I'm like, on a Monday, I'm like 239. So anyway, we bowl Tuesday nights, and I bowl with Nick and I bowl with Nathan. And there's a guy who works for Gary Robinson in the pro shop, Tony Buss. Nice guy. So Tony has been posting about once every 6 weeks. Man, I never thought I'd see the day that I'd be ahead of bowlers like this. And he keeps taking a picture. So it kind of gets to the point where it's a little sizzling. So yeah, so that's where we're at. Like, so Tony's ahead of me, but Nathan's ahead of me too. But I'm like laughing with Nick. I said, I don't think I've ever made a post about my league average, but if I can bop out a 750 tonight and get round him, I might make one.
I am the high average, right-handed average in my league.
Oh, here we go. We got our second delivery of the day, and it's
3 or
the
4
same guy.
different.
I told you, yeah.
3 or 4 different
FedEx
pros in our league. But,
Sorry, go ahead.
But Dio also bowls in this league, and he just shot 800 for the 4th time, I believe.
Bernard?
Yeah, and mostly he just bowls for his dad. So he's not a regular. He just bowls for his dad. And they're about to change some league rules, because I used to sub on this team, and it's Chapman and Alan Riley, one of the guys that contributes in here, and Rick Bernard, and a couple of guys. And then I subbed in, and then I became a member for half the year. And now Dio bowls. So we bowled last night. Chapman's bowling 3rd, and I'm bowling 4th, and Dio's bowling 5th. And
That's
Guy
a
named Chris Hansen, who cashed in the U.S. Open in 2010, which he occasionally reminds us of. He bowled second. Actually, he was leadoff last night.
Yeah.
So I mean, we shoot 3,600 last night on not the easiest house shot ever, but Dio puts it on him right now every week, and everybody says this place is hard on the left. Not really.
Yeah.
There,
That's definitely an interesting place to bowl, though, isn't it, Louisville?
was there ever a time where the 19-year-olds were as good as they are now? Between Dio and Eric Jones?
I don't know. Norm Duke and Pete Weber were pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
When they both won PBA titles at that age, yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah. Different world. I mean, the 8 or 9 years before I went on tour, everybody went on tour right out of high school.
Right.
Like Steele Smith and Hromek were like the first guys to actually go to college first, and along with Scroggins and Jurek and Mark McDowell. Everybody else just went high school tour. So it took a couple of years sometimes, but yeah, it's a different game, so it's a little bit hard to compare.
Sure.
There's a few more things to deal with transition-wise on one side of the lane than the other, but those two are awfully good.
Yes,
and they got there in a hurry.
Hey, Kyle. I brought this one up because it was quite an interesting question. He says, do you guys think the Road Warrior is above, below, or equal to the Ruby? Have a good day, and thanks, Brad. For me, it's cleaner. It's fairly similar cover, but Flair's a little more, but higher RG. So I would say overall hook, I would say that they're kind of similar. I think that the Ruby is a little earlier and a little smoother. It's kind of my take on it. I don't know about you guys.
I think the Road Warrior is way more versatile for me. I can fit it in a much bigger gap in the bag. You're going to throw it slow, it can hook a lot. If you want to be firm, you can make it go pretty straight.
Yeah, they got to be pretty specific condition for me to throw a Ruby.
Yeah, it was too quick. I wanted it to be like my Emerald, which I could throw when they hooked on a lot of different things, and it was a little too quick, which lots of people want, but not for what we bowl on. I think the Road Warrior is a better ball overall.
I was about to say, it's the reaction that everybody wants, but nobody actually strikes with.
Yeah. Brandon, thanks for the super chat. Good morning, guys. I'm looking for a ball that will bridge the gap between my Gem, Phase 2, and Revenant. There's a gap in there. Should I consider the Zen 25? The Zen 25 will 100% fit in between the Phase 2 and the Revenant.
Yep.
Almost would be the ball that I would suggest every time.
Yeah, it's the ball below the Phase 2 for sure. And I think it's somebody earlier, I think it might have been Adam, of course, asked if the Zen 25 was my ball of the year for the first 2 weeks of the year. And I mean, it's not super stiff competition at that point, but yes.
Hello. To be fair, the amount of honor scores that you've bowled with it in this 4 weeks, it would have been your ball of the year for 2024.
Yes. Yeah, it's easily surpassed anything that I
like.
The last 3 months, I think the balls have been fantastic. We have put out a lot of really good balls, and they're not all on top of each other. It's been a nice run here, and I think the tour staff is going to reap the benefits of that coming up.
Yeah, and props to Storm and their AI technology. I mean, it can never be easy to come up with something new. I mean, like when you start mass producing anything, like anything can happen. So even if the testing went perfect, you still are not quite sure if the new thing you came up with is going to resonate well, or on all the different levels, the tour, the house shot, the sports shot. And then I'm looking at the website, and most of the cores in the lineup now are AI technology. So that's got to feel pretty good for Storm, at least.
Yeah, early we weren't real sure, but AI and Power Edge have certainly, and a couple of changes with cover stocks and what have you. It's been a nice combination of events, and it's brought Storm back up into I think the forefront. So
It wasn't Brad who fucked us. It was Brent Bowers.
Yeah.
Brent slept
Brent.
through the whole show.
Yeah.
They won last week, didn't they, Brent? and his partner?
Yeah, so I got him to come on. I asked him Monday night, "Hey, do you want to come on?" He's like, "Yeah, man, that'd be awesome." I sent him the link in the morning. Nothing.
You went
Nothing.
college student
Messaged
on us.
him, called him. Nothing. Nothing. About 11:30, he says to me, "Man, I'm really sorry. I totally fucked this up." He goes, "I kept working on paperwork for the bowling center till late, and I only just woke up." He goes, "I knew I should have put it in my calendar." I was like, "Brent, I literally asked you 12 hours ago."
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like I asked you on Sunday. I asked you like literally at 9 o'clock that Monday night, and by 10 a.m. on Tuesday, you'd forgotten that you were coming on. Like, come on, bro.
He doesn't like to gloat.
No,
He just wins and then goes back.
I was
to the
about to
corner.
say you couldn't have said that more wrong ever. Like in like 2027, Brent will be like, "Remember the time that me and Crumley dominated this bitch?"
Yeah. Randy Peters, the bald eagle has landed. Congrats on the win, Brad Miller. Not sure if my question will go through, but I wanted to ask and see if we might see a doubles match between Beef and Barnzy and Brad and Kyle.
Yeah, we should. We should film one whenever we're all sucking and not bowling. We should show up one day and film a match.
Or what we really should do is we should try and get a permission and stay out after the Masters, because there's like 5 days of absolute nothing. Because
the week after, there's literally practice session and the TV show on top of each other.
No, we bowl the Masters, and then literally the next tournament is 70 miles away in Jackson, but there's a gap.
Yeah.
Because they're having the All-Star Clash or whatever it is, the All-Star Weekend. So for the entire tour, and we almost couldn't be further from being at home, being in Michigan. So yeah, I was super. I've got a new plan now, though. I'm just going to make the TV show at the World Championships and just not bowl the Masters.
That's a pretty good plan.
Because it's just like you'd kill yourself to get from Reno to get to Detroit to then bowl the Masters to then have a week off anyway. You might as well just fuck it. Just take the week off.
I mean, at that point,
like then you'd get like a 2-week break and just go up to Jackson and just be like, whatever. Like it's just that's going to be an absolute nightmare getting from Reno to Detroit.
Yes,
like
it
just
is.
a disaster. Because they don't even have that many late flights out of Reno. And of course,
and you're losing 3 hours. So
sorry?
And you lose 3 hours.
Yeah, I was about to say. And then, of course, if you were going the other way, it wouldn't be anywhere near as bad because you'd be catching up all day as you got further. But if you think about it, you take the flight up to, because the easiest way to go will be Reno to Salt Lake City to Detroit. That would be the Delta flight, because then you're right there. But even that's going to take 5 or 6 hours.
All right, we got some more. Let's see. What's the difference in Road Warrior and Lightning Blackout?
I like the Road Warrior.
Yeah.
I like the Lightning Blackout a little bit, but I didn't end up using it very much.
Flare, I think, is the big difference. So
IRG, more flare versus.
To me, the Lightning Blackout is one of those balls that if you want to play straighter angles, it's great. Like for my wife, it's actually a pretty decent option. She really likes the Road Warrior as well. But for her, it's a pretty good option because it's a stronger cover, but she can get it through the front without having to open up as much. That's the exact reason why I don't really like it, because for me, it hooks too early to use it as a weak ball. So it forces me left, but once I get left, it doesn't really have enough flare to be able to continue around the corner. Yeah. So then it just gets in no man's land, where the hustle has a small window for me because it's the cover and the core match each other. It's kind of a weakish cover and it's a weak core. For me, I've never really liked small core balls anyway. So then having a strongish cover with a small core is just, it's just such a small window that I'd be able to use it on. Whereas, like I say, Road Warrior is the ball that like I've used a billion times in my career to like pretty good success. Like it fits in a similar gap that I'd used my crossroads in the past, like high road pearl. Like it just fits in that kind of gap for me.
Seems to be pretty good from medium down to dry. I don't know
Yes.
where you've seen it, Brad. We get stuck in our own wheel here, and even though Stu and I separate on how we like to see different balls, but how do you see it?
No, that's exactly the way I see it. I mean, and sometimes with the original High Road, I mean, I think my favorite one of the past decades probably been the High Road X. That was when I really liked that one.
Mhm.
But I mean, they're high RG, high flare, and so you can actually like the Lightning Blackout. It's so clean, you know.
Yeah,
The
clean and
the
quick.
and quick, yeah, and
Yeah,
it's just hard to control. Even if you have a really high rev rate and the ball is spinning fast and setting up nicely, still there's a quickness in the cover that creates a lot of angle that can sometimes be hard to control. The Road Warrior's got some flair, and you can play it. You can throw it on a short part out to the right. It's not going to be too angular, and then you can also play it on some burn, play the inside part of the lane, and it's not going to want to go one direction or the other. It should be pretty smooth in a couple different areas of the lane.
The thing I like about it is we haven't had that ball for so long.
No, we have not, and we're bowling in very high friction centers,
Yeah,
Bolero centers, and even a ball like the Ion Pro. We
agree.
just some weaker options.
I think the Road Warrior is going to be really popular at the US Open.
Yeah,
Unless he goes like crazy high with the volumes or whatever. I'm just saying historically in that bowling center, it's really hard to get your ball to continue down the lane because it just gets so burnt up in the front part of the lane there.
and allegedly he was going to go high volume before Rob left with a pattern, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something.
and
Although,
do we know the pattern?
The Team USA trial patterns are, you get a little glimpse into what, kind of what he's thinking. That's a pretty good trial for him there too. There was a version of the Masters pattern there again, which again seemed to work fairly well with right, left, pace, all the things. And then there was a couple of higher volumes.
No, it's not a PBA event. It's just a high ranking amateur event.
Carlton Chambers says his house is open in Detroit.
We need it. Not a ton of options. In Sibo's basement, I'm down. That would be funny.
Dick says,
my man Dick.
Brad Lee. See what he did there. Hey Joey, how does the Zen 25 shape compare to the Phase 2? I mean, it's basically, if you took all of the marketing, it's like a Pearl Phase 2. Like if you were to imagine what a Phase 2 would look like if it was like the shiny, quicker ball, that's kind of what the Zen 25 looks like to me anyway.
Yeah, you would have in the medium category, if you were going to have a little more control and a little more shape, you would go, the Phase 2 is your medium control benchmark ball, and the Zen 25 would be a little medium with a little more angularity to it.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the origin in that Phase 2 place right now.
Oh, okay.
Really liked it kind of in that slot. But
I do too.
I've kind of used absolute power in that gap, but same idea.
Right. Yeah, it seems counterintuitive to what I've done for years with symmetrical balls in that slot, but we're in a different world right now. So
yeah, it kind of gets to that weird stage, doesn't it, where your brain's telling you, I really need symmetrical balls, and then you go out on the lanes and you're just like, yeah, but why?
Yeah, there's a lot more friction in the front relative to how much oil there is behind it now, and the asymmetry does come in handy. And maybe it's my hands finally adapted to the fact that I don't need the ball to pick up any more in the front than it already does. Or I'm just getting old and shouldering it more and I spin it more than I did. But
maybe.
It could be all of it.
It could be all of
it. Somebody just asked where did I see it? Oh, I've lost it. I'll find it. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to be the year of the Ass 2.
The Ass 2.
Let's go, Ass 2.
I think we'll see the Ass 2 a lot on tour. Kind of seems to be that, like,
Chris, it's sticking. There's no getting around it. Attention Star S2, the Ass 2. Let's go.
I think that's an appropriate name because mine so far, that's exactly what it looks like.
do you think they thought of that when they came up with the
Ass.
name?
I don't know, but I hope they did.
It looks, for me, the attention stars are both in the same. There's Ass and Ass 2. It also looks like Ass 2.
Wow, you don't like the original?
I've
never seen you throw it.
I don't
Walks up
really
and
like
goes
the original
forward
either.
for me so fast.
It goes forward for sure.
Like the
Ryan
S,
looks miles. It's a joke. I mean, it looks so good. I drilled another one. I'm like, I just haven't been doing this right. I'm like,
and it
lay
did
it out
exactly
different. We'll
the
do
same.
some stuff. I threw it. It got about 6 shots in and went, nope, same thing.
Did you try putting power edge on it?
Oh yeah,
Because like to me, that ball was
100% because that it's
It was
made a
much
pretty big
more
difference
usable.
with the balls.
once I got that on it. But I'm on team the S2. I like the S2 a lot.
Yeah, Stu crushes it.
Yeah, like
I
mine.
need to drill another one. I drilled the lower pin one because I knew it was smooth, and I tried to just kind of lean into it, and it was just too smooth. So,
But I also think that it's a sign that we've got more good balls, that you can be a bit more like choosy.
it would have been in play last year.
Yeah,
Like
like
I didn't have anything that fit in that slot, and
Yeah.
I'll probably drill another one tall and try and get a little bit more out of it because it does. If there's a spot where we don't have a ton of balls, I think it's in that gap right below Gem and Ion.
Yeah.
Max.
Casey says, well, they probably won't come out with the attention superstar.
No, they had it in the books, and now you just ruined it. They just scratched it out.
Yeah, just
Oh shit.
I don't know if they make that many choices based off of our feedback on this.
Probably not.
No.
Although
I mean, this is what I
rename the reality check, the reality strike at one point too.
Yeah. That was my first foray into getting the ball names wrong. We sort of don't do it on purpose, but at the same time, we don't always we
don't necessarily issue a correction either.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just lean into it to see if anybody's listening.
And then once you start hearing that everybody's calling it the wrong name, you sort of go, well, we do have more viewers than we thought we did.
Yeah, I did a ball video one time of a 900 global ball, and in the video I kept saying global 900.
Yeah.
Said it probably 15 times, never thought anything of it. Get to the comment section, man, they roasted me.
But you got good interactions because everybody was commenting on the video, so you recommended that bitch out like no other.
To be fair, it was all Kabansky and Gary Olsenberg and their burner accounts.
The burner accounts, yeah.
Right. Just all telling you to
Makes
call it the right
sense. Dang it.
West Pye had come in from the top rope, coming back in. And
Would the pearl be ass pearl or pearl ass?
It's a good question.
Oh dear. Hey John, thank you. If you've got a question, slap it in the chat. We'll keep an eye out.
this is not a bad question, and actually,
oh sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, have
No,
you put power edge on the physics blackout? I have not. Ryan did. Would it look like the Vibo? I think that's a fair thing to think it might, but other than color, it's still quite a bit stronger, I think.
Stronger, yeah.
That cover is monstrously stronger than what's on the.
It is. It's amazing when they make them black, though, how much cleaner they do get down the lane, and whether it's perception or reality.
Sound like we're on the wrong channel. We should be on Radical. That's all is their videos. Perception versus reality, and then they throw it with Throwbot rather than a person.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing that out.
So you're saying there's a plan?
Oh shit. Do you guys have any issues with going back to the same centers? It's a bit annoying to keep having to go back to Woodland Bowl for the Open. It depends. I guess the 5 guys who've made the show the last 2 years, or the 4 guys, think it's a real good idea.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about annoying, last year was the peak annoying because we went back to the same center and bowled on the same patterns with almost the same field, and then had the same result. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, Troop told me in match play he did the exact same thing the year before as he did this past year in match play. Identical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess I'm being fair about when I was really good. I didn't think it was annoying at all.
No, EJ
Now I
definitely
find it
doesn't.
much more troublesome to
Yeah.
go to some of these places.
I mean, what I find annoying is that I do well in a couple of places and we never go back. That's
Yeah.
annoying.
Like
It's
Going
what?
back
annoying not
the
to go
same
back to
place.
Wichita.
Yes.
I only have a couple of good weeks a year. You took that away. So,
Where's that for you, Stu? Where have you bowled good and we don't go back?
Every Dave Small Center except Jackson, and guess what? Which one we're going to? Yeah. So yeah, it's been I don't know. I mean, the lanes at Coffee Creek were pretty fun. We don't go
In
back
Tulsa?
there.
Oh, I remember that, dude.
Yeah. That's
that was
what
a
I
one-off. You ruined that
screwed
place.
us all up because you were the one guy out of B squad that actually made any money that week, and you gave
Yeah, right.
everybody in A squad the reason not to complain.
Yeah.
Like, oh look, your squad has the tournament leader. What are you talking about? Oh
That
wait,
was,
see,
the,
it's
that
bad.
was the Stu and Prather career maker week
That
right
is
there.
right, man.
I also got to me and Chris have gone back over this a couple of times, but I'm not allowed to say this to Chris in practice anymore because I walked up to Chris in practice and went, the pins go absolutely everywhere here, right? And
He said
Chris,
that, and I gave him one of the. I went,
well, what are you talking about?
what are you talking about?
And then every time Chris flat 10, he would glare at me like it was my fault. Like every time. But the pins
I
did go
did
everywhere for me.
10 there the whole week, and he struck. To his credit, he didn't jinx himself. The pins did fly all week for him and flew around, and my perception also held steady.
That was
So, I like I say, I don't. I think that when you don't bowl very well, you get frustrated by going to these same places. But a lot of the time, probably don't matter where we're bowling.
nah.
I mean, I've done okay at Woodland.
It's a tough center.
It just
is. It hooks early. It's a little tight. You can't get it way right.
I mean, I like going to Reno. Like overall, I've done pretty well in Reno. Not as well as Pete Weber, who says it's the center he hates the most, even though he's made the show there 4 times. That's one of my favorite Pete Weberisms ever. He goes, Reno, fuck that place. I've never bowled any good there. I've only made the show there like 4 times. The place has been open 30 years. I'm like, any other person on earth who'd made the show 4 times in one place would it be their favorite bowling center ever. Pete's like, hate that place. Only made the show.
I feel like that place is really tough too. And then you go back and you go, and I had some miserable times there, and then like, won like 2 Eagles and led the Masters twice in that place.
I was gonna say the one year you crushed the Masters before I got on tour. It was probably I was in college. You were throwing a red ball. What ball was that?
It was a Mission.
Mission. That's right.
I threw a Columbia. I think I had to throw a Columbia ball on the show. So
that is right. You guys,
and
that
then
was doing that.
Not Pierce one.
What was up with the left at team trials? There wasn't any lefties that made it outright, was there?
This is twice in a row too, because the RPI there was a pretty good offset because we haven't been there in a while, and historically the left dominates at the stadium, and so there was a pretty sizable offset for the RPI. Not the strongest field, but there was enough good ones there to get some read. On the player of the year of the Central, the beat Graham Fa made the finals on the kids side. That was it. And then, but Dio and Eric and some of those guys didn't bowl Team USA trials this year, so it again, and Packy and Russo were over in Hong Kong bowling,
Right.
and so you are missing some of the top guys there. But yeah, there was a couple of misses, I think, where there was really no left-handers very close at all. Because there was Cam Crow, there was Spencer, and I'm missing a few, but there were some talented guys there that didn't have a very good go at it. So the good news, bad news is when the World Series is there, I would anticipate some of these offsets to decrease.
Yeah.
It's just not. It doesn't seem to be as lopsided as it used to be.
I think Reno's one of those places that's the hardest possible to oil in, because it feels like it's ultimately like a cliff. It's like lefties have got it, lefties have got it, lefties have got it. We change the pattern a little bit. We change the pattern a little bit. We change the pattern a little bit more. Woof, and then there's just none of them.
Gone. Yeah.
Like
the highest 40th.
Yeah. It's like if they make them a little bit
lefty, righty sneaks in, righty sneaks in.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the World Series is almost the best tournament to be there, because when you've got 4 patterns, you can kind of like balance it a little bit, but it's going to make a really big difference as to what happens with the World Championship pattern, as to whether, because the ones who make it in the past when we bowled there in Reno, like the year that I bowled great in Reno, like 17 or whatever it was, 16, like I bowled awesome, but then we bowled on the last pattern and it was just pointless. Like this was the year that they put up on the scoreboard whether you were left-handed or right-handed on the finals, and the lefties went absolutely crazy about it. They were so pissed. So it was like L, L, R, L, 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 R, R.
There's been a few times in the World Series where it's kind of been the opposite of what's happened at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Where it's been a little bit easier to get into the finals of the U.S. Open, but the last pattern has been better for the right, and so the lefties end up falling. In the World Series, it's been the other way several times where
it did it again.
It's been hard for the lefties to get to that top 24, but once they get there, then they just had a free run to the top.
Yeah, there's a mix, because this past year.
Yes, and I'm wrong, because Bryce Oliver is a left-hander. I wasn't familiar with him before.
That's right.
He bowled excellent too, and he made Team USA. So
you're saying
it wasn't impossible. They had one day where it was really hard on the left. I mean, across the board, and he survived that. And he bowled good the other 4 days, and made it on points.
I'm sorry, Bryce Oliver. I wasn't familiar with your work. Is that what you were saying?
It's kind of like Stipich, though. I didn't know him either because I only followed some of the college tournaments, and last year I didn't follow any because Ryan was bowling them. So, yeah. By all accounts, everyone told me that he was an accomplished player, and same with Stipich. So,
Larry, we only needed 5 cents today. You've put us at 7 cents now. Larry does 512 because that's the area code for Austin. Also, morning B&B World. Congrats to he said OG Barnzy, so there you go.
There.
And way to go, Brad. Not many people can say they've won their namesake tourney.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until about halfway in my match against Eric Jones. I'm like, well, it is my name on the tournament. This does work out fairly well.
I mean, Parker says that's cute, but he actually did win the Parker Bone Open.
Parker.
Yeah.
Well, Pete was trying this past year at the Pete Weber Open.
No, I'm not saying trying. I say Parker led it, and he beat Jason and Ricky Ward. Well, I beat Ricky and Couch, and then I bowled him in the final, and he smoked me.
You bowled Parker at the Parker Bone Open in the final?
We had Himmler and I got the bottom of the step ladder, and I was running the step ladder, and then the commercial break snake.
Well, what happened to it? Why doesn't he have a tournament anymore?
I don't know. Why does anything happen anymore?
That's a good point.
Pete Wyatt from the 702. This should be our new game, trying to guess which 702 is Vegas.
Yep.
There you go.
So we just need some 602 and 480.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to get Everybody, if you would, just send a super chat with all the area codes where Stu owns houses. Just see.
That's a lot of super chats, isn't it?
Yeah. If you can figure out the English one, you're pretty good.
I was about to say, yeah. Somebody said need 949. I don't know. No, we need like +351 and then the area code. But
right.
yeah.
602, 702, 512.
College Station. Nah, fuck College Station.
No one wants to own a house there. Come on. Hi, Tina.
Oh God. Oh shit. So anyway, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, back to our guest. What else can you tell us, Brad? What's your plans for the year? What do you got?
Well, I leave Thursday morning. It's a 15-hour drive to Pennsylvania. We're running a clinic this weekend at Lee's place, Bowls and Brews. And we get into Delaware Sunday night. I got to bowl the PTQ Monday morning. And then if I make it, I'm bowling. If not, I'm spectating.
Is Dennis out with you guys again?
He's out with us. Yep. We'll see. He's in the chat too. We'll see if he brings the pink Crocs or if he finds something else. He did give up the pink Crocs for some other shoes last year. I think.
Thanks, Michael.
What a great game this is.
It's a great game. I mean, I can't believe you guys have whatever area code you're in. Tip that much. How about that?
We're not going to get so many of the 9 starting area codes and like, don't give me this bullshit 214, Tina. I don't need any of the Dallas area. I don't need the Dallas area code.
I'm in
I
St.
do own
Louis.
a few houses too. I mean, feel free.
Oh dear. Yeah, Patrick, we're not interested in which zip code you're from if you're not paid. We're only interested in paid zip code, paid area codes.
Oh, shameless.
But then I'm in the actual U.S. Open. I got a bowl. I got a commissioner exemption into Chicago, which was great because that's the doubles for Kyle and I.
Nice.
I got a bowl the PTQ for Springfield and then Nevada. And then the rest is I'm in. You know, the World Series I'm in, the Players I'm in, the Masters I'm in, and then the
Springfield's not far from you, right?
No, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's right on the way from Chicago. So if we do end up having a day or two, we can just stop in St. Louis. But then when we go to Springfield on our way back around, I think Kyle might be going all the way to West Virginia, but I'll be flying out of St. Louis. So that week turnaround into the World Series isn't bad at all.
Okay.
So
do you know what, Larry? I have to admit that you did it the first time and it did actually round us off. And I never thought you've probably tipped 512 20 times. And it took me till today to realize that's why you tipped 512. But you
our
know,
fans they play at a different level.
Yes, they do.
So, what do you have coming up content wise? What's your plan?
We are officially totally out of videos. We only have a video to release on YouTube this week if we wanted to, but we're going to start, we all get together Friday. So we're probably going to make a couple videos or maybe just one video from the clinic, but then it's on, every day we're going to try and crank one out for the next couple months that we bowl at least. So
maybe vlogging full time through the season again and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our favorite time period. We just there's just so much traffic that goes in and people are just so interested in what goes on out on tour and all the different personalities that it would feel terrible if we missed it. So
yeah, Stu and I have talked about that a lot too, and we determined that people would find it less interesting if they followed us around.
No.
And,
the mystique.
No, see, I would think that about me too. I'm not very interesting, but then people actually like to see how bad you struggle, and then
I just feel like I think I've had this conversation with you a couple of times. I just feel like people like love being along for your journey. Like, you're very relatable. Like,
Yeah.
Chris just isn't really that relatable.
Well, he's too
won-
good.
He's what? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's won 19 titles. Like, if he makes the show, he's probably still going to be grumpy because he's the 4th seed, not the 1 seed. Like, the only thing that's going to make him like get super pumped is Ryan winning, and fuck Ryan, I don't care about him winning, or him making the show at the Masters, and like that's Whereas like for you, it's like people are like so invested. Like what are you now? Like 6 or 8 years into this? We're doing the vlogging on tour and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're there for the highs and the lows, and like you're like me when things go right, like it's super like a new experience. Like, not being rude about it, but like between me and you, we probably have 15 shows between us. Chris has like 100.
Right.
Like, it got to the point where people got bored of watching Chris on TV. Like, EJ's making it fashionable now. This is so Chris 2006.
Well, eventually, is this your last year? When or do you have a time where?
I don't know if it's official. I guess we could make it somewhat official. I've kind of come to a place where this is my last year, unless I make probably a couple of shows. I'd have to make 2 shows this year too.
Okay. Well, you'll
feel
be
like I don't need the moon and stars to align to make a show once and then hang around and try and do it again if I'm going to get my teeth kicked in the rest of the year. So
yeah, you're
But-
a pretty successful ball rep already.
yeah, well, it turns out
I mean,
it's kind of like
you did what you did. You from years of experience, you did what every ball rep did. You just high-sided the fuck out of it.
That's right. I didn't. I paid attention. I know it didn't seem like it, but I did pay attention over the years.
You went in with a guy who, was on a hot streak. You rode that pony right through the finishing line, and you went, "Give me my flowers."
Maybe I don't quite, but yeah, I'm not afraid to hitch my wagon to a little high side, a little upside on the game.
Yeah, well, he was the whole plan. He goes, I'm not even going to have Ryan Bull for the first 17 years of his life. We're just going to play basketball, and then I'm going to have him just come in a couple years, and he's going to be whooping everybody.
I like to say. It's the professional ball right way. You don't, although it's much more difficult, you don't get many attaboys for taking the guy who hasn't had a check to making the round robin. That guy likes you. Nobody else cares.
Yeah. And that's always the hardest part with the bar. Everybody thinks, well, the guys are around they do everything for you. Well, it's not true. But when you're bowling good, 1 or 2 things can get you to the show.
Oh man!
Now the ones that really appreciate is when you're grinding, he gives you 3 or 4 things because you're just grinding, and you get to a check, and it saves some pretty good weeks, which then lead into making a show later on.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing with reps because their job is to get you to get shows.
Yes.
And so when you're not in that hunt, how much help can you get? When this is really where you need the most of it, but it doesn't impact where it needs to impact the most. And it gets tricky because as players, you want help when you're struggling. And their job is to make sure that you get 1 million people watching you on Sunday.
It's by far the hardest part of the rep job is finding a way to keep the majority happy, because if a bunch of guys start getting super pissed off, it doesn't create a good working environment for everybody, and it makes it harder to get the guys to win while trying to make sure that the guys are at the top stay at the top. It is somewhat of a no-win scenario.
Very much so.
But that's why you tell them, that's why you get paid the big bucks.
There's rumors about a couple of sponsors coming around. We'll see what happens here in the near future.
Oh,
Not
PBA
quite to
tour.
where we can announce, but I'll tease it. Look for our man Kyle Troop. Looks like he's got something working.
Oh, okay. I got excited, Chris. I thought you were bringing on another Beef and Barnzy sponsor. You know, ones that we actually get the money from. Whereas PBA Tour sponsors, the money goes to Simo and EJ and Belmont. You know, the good bowlers.
I think that's completely unfair. And as your players committee president, I'll bring that up. If we can just find a way to pay the guys who don't bowl well more every week, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't expect that to be received with a lot of enthusiasm.
Well, I don't understand why. There's way more of us who don't bowl well than do bowl well.
Right?
Like, if this was a democracy, we'd win. How many more shitty bowlers are than EJ Tackett Belmos?
I agree.
Like,
I've been on this boat ever since I went out there.
Like I say, Brad, chop it up. Oh dear. So spicy stew is my favorite. Well, not we had some direct messages this week that suggest it wasn't.
Normally I'm the one that gets most of the hate, but you actually, they came in.
I found a guy and I was fairly mature back to him. I was trying to I rewrote the text a couple of times. I finished off with, man, I'm really gonna lose sleep tonight knowing that you don't like me. He didn't understand that I was being sarcastic because he goes, you won't lose any sleep. Well,
I did thank him for the t-shirt slogan though.
Yeah.
That probably didn't help much.
But I really have to go. So if you two want to keep bullshitting, you're more than welcome. But
shit, I didn't realize how long we've been on here. Thanks, Brad, for hanging out with us this long.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Fun. So is your clinic sold out, or can people still get in?
Yeah, it's sold out.
No, look at Brad.
Good for you. Big deal.
It's the East Coast, man. They come out of the woodwork.
Good deal. You got any others coming up that they can sign up for?
No, but we are going to run. We ran our own tournament last year, and we're going to do that again, I think, the same weekend, Memorial Weekend, third weekend of May, roughly.
Okay.
So that'll be our next little adventure.
Right after the season's over.
So yeah, we'll be launching that, or at least having people sign up for that here shortly. So if you're interested in bowling a tournament, it's a full handicap tournament. The third weekend of May, we'll be running something.
So Tina's talking about our league and Pam Lawrence. So
yeah, if the PBA did prize funds like leagues do, we'd wait till after Springfield and then decide how we wanted the prize fund to pay out for the first 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we do
it's
have a lot.
The stupidest thing I've ever seen, and every league does it.
Yeah.
Hey, what place are you in? Okay, here's a prize fund. What? How are we not voted on this in week 1?
Yes.
I mean, and also the fact that you give everybody money back, even though you pay $25 a week. Just pay less.
Yeah.
It's like the world's worst savings scheme.
Yeah, just giving money away for somebody else to hang on to.
Okay, 361 sounds like it's I don't know, 361.
What could that be?
I was +3
Pittsburgh,
Arizona.
But he's hot. So South Carolina. I'm going with South Carolina. Oh, it's actually Texas. Corpus Christi.
Wow. There you go.
It's down there.
Well, welcome. Yeah, Larry's on this shit.
That's right.
Larry's the best.
Larry immediately. Oh, we got some Corpus in the house. He's Victoria. It is, Larry, you're right. I Googled it. It is Corpus Christi as well.
Yeah.
Includes Corpus Christi, Victoria, and Alice. So.
Well, Brad, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
And my sympathies as well. I bowled with Stu in doubles before. Well done. You survived. It made you a stronger player, a stronger person. And
I was going to tell you,
that drove you to the win the next week. So,
oh yeah, I just learned from the GOAT. I did pretty much flag a 5-8 in the 10th when it mattered. The last game against Nathan and Marie, and Stu's face was like, Well, I had a chance. Brad Flack's a 5'8".
That's a pretty unusual for you. I consider you one of the top spare shooters on tour.
No, that's the weird part is when you shoot a million of them, and all of a sudden, Stu and I were talking about that. It's like
Fatigue.
it just become a little harder when you shoot at 100.
Yeah, it was just like I said to you, like I don't know what it is. Frankie's my soul brother with that because I feel like me and him could just shoot that bullshit for just till the end of time. We don't. It's the one time when I don't get impatient is just shooting more spares. Like I get impatient when we're bowling on something easy and I keep leaving like a flat 10 or something. I get super impatient then. But like when it's just like the grind and you know everybody else is doing the same, having to do the same shit, it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you, like I say, you put way more pressure on yourself because you kept missing the head pin. They were the stressful spares when you got to shoot the 1-2-4 over and over and over again. And stuff.
Yeah, the 1-2-4. The only time that's actually an easy spare is when you can't leave it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, Stone Cold's hometown should be 3-1. That's Wichita, so you know that one.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Pretty much.
All right, with that.
All right, we've gotten to the wrong side of it now. So Brad, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
For his content on YouTube, of course. Brad and Kyle, it's getting ready to kick off, and it's as organic as it gets. And you get to follow what tour really looks like, and if that's something that might be in your plan, it's a great watch. So,
yeah,
best of luck to you during the PTQs and getting back exempt where you belong out there. And congrats on winning the Brad.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. So I'll see you in a week.
Yeah,
roughly.
See you up there.
Anything else you want to close with?
Me? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Yeah, we got a tour starting, bunch of videos. I would say make sure you follow Packy, Darren, Belmo, literally whoever vlogs because they need the attention. So just be ready to watch about 6 YouTube videos a day. That's our goal.
Well, and if bowling would support bowling, we'd all end up being better off. And
Absolutely.
So, along with all those bowlers and those vlogs, if between now and the next time, if you'd please support the sponsor, support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Naira Global, Kuwait Bowlers Mart, Firelight Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and of course, Platinum Ford. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. Thanks, Brad.
See you later, guys. Thank you.